Thursday the 26th of October, and I've been watching this morning, and they had Tim Peake, the British astronaut that's been to the International Space Station. And something doesn't really add up about some of the imagery that they've shown and the interview and what's been said. You can kind of pick it apart a little bit, which I find fascinating, because I've got to be honest, I'm not really sure whether I do believe the whole we've been to the moon and we've been to space thing. I think maybe Russia has been into space, but getting past the Kuiper belt, I do believe, which is a massive radioactive belt which is in between us and the moon, would be impossible. But anyway, of course, they have been there, and we must believe what we're told. But I'm just going to set the camera up so you can see what I'm talking about, and I'm going to talk about the imagery and what they're saying as we go through. So it's going to be probably about a 12-14 minute long video, I would have thought. But anyway, we'll get you set up so we can see the whole television. All right. Okay. Hopefully that's not going to move like it is. Right. Okay, we can see the whole screen, so here we go.
A toilet in space.
How to get a toilet in space?
It's the most asked question for any astronaut.
Yes, and the only Brit who walked in space, Major Tim Peake,
I have got a
written
bad
book
back, so
explaining just how he spends the penny. It's not just about that.
Right, firstly, he hasn't walked in space, he's been to space. So, slight flaw.
Although that's a good start.
So, I'm not being funny, the guy's been back a year and a half. You've still got your spacesuit on, mate, but, of course, we got to dress him up like an astronaut every single time we have him on television, just to make the lie a little bit more convincing, in my opinion. But watch it. It goes
Really
on.
good stuff. Always for me. I love talking about bowels and stuff. But anyway, he's going to be answering every question. Anything we want to know. We're dying to ask. But you've written this amazing book.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Anything that starts with the word basically is usually bullshit. But anyway. Interesting little drawings around the outside. Bit
Because you
children.
said that you're a little bit tired of being asked the same question, so you've answered everything in here.
Well, I love talking about space, of course, very passionate about it.
Cool.
But when I landed, I was going through this post-flight tour, speaking to lots of universities and schools and children, and I was getting bombarded with brilliant questions. And I thought, well, I just need to try and capture all of this information and write it down when it's fresh in my mind. So hence the Ask an Astronaut book. You've been back, is it about a year?
That's right, just over a year.
Are you missing space?
I do miss space, yeah. All my friends, my astronaut colleagues, I speak.
All my friends and astronaut colleagues, he speaks to them and they talk about, how they reminisce about space. All those people that have been to space, all the people that live on the International Space Station. When did they go there? When are these excursions to space taking place? That's what I want to know.
We all miss space. It's brilliant up there. I mean, the weightlessness, the view of planet Earth, it's impossible not to miss it.
Do you dream about it? Do you ever sort of have dreams, I don't know, you
Right.
where you think...
Now, I've got a problem with this image here. Courtesy of the European Space Agency. Look at these rays coming out here. Look at this picture of, obviously meant to be the Northern Lights or something. What is this, America? Maybe, could be America. But it just doesn't add up to me. It looks a bit computer generated. And what I also want to draw attention to is, this is a satellite and the Earth is doing this. It's spinning this way. Well, the stars are billions of light years away. And they appear to be moving in conjunction with the Earth. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. What are these lights as well here going on? These ones. Just sort of, the cloud would sort of stop the lights coming in through the Earth, wouldn't it? Anyway. Watch the stars.
You're still there.
Look at
I
them.
haven't, no, I'm not a big dreamer, but the funny
Drifting.
thing was when I was in space, all my dreams were
Very
being back on
jumpy
Earth
image.
until right at the very end of the mission where I had this really weird dream where I was in a library
This.
on Earth and I needed to reach a book on the top shelf.
Right, now I want to just pay attention to what's going on here. There are various accounts of astronauts being caught in front of green screens. Other astronauts, as one spinning, grabbing a harness instead of the person. Don't think it's going to happen here. I don't think they're going to make that mistake. But it just looks, you know, why is this guy upside down? Is that just to doubly prove it, is it?
So I just floated up there and grabbed it, and suddenly I was back in weightlessness again. So the mind does funny things. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I know this is a question that you always get asked.
We've got lots of questions that we need you to answer,
Yes.
Tim. The answers are all in here, but we're going to get it live from the
But don't let that stop you buying the book.
Not quite.
What is the hardest? The training is intensive, and what is the hardest part? What was the hardest part for you?
Right, so the training is very intensive. What was the hardest part? Now he looks to the ground. Better tell a good lie here. And this is where he fucks up a bit.
During that,
The training, I mean, we just have to know so many subjects,
Yeah.
and we have to be a jack of all trades. It takes 2.5 years to train for a mission to space. So one of the hardest things is just retaining all that information in your
Right, so one of the hardest things is retaining all of that information. So he needs to retain all of that information. Now listen to what he says.
your mind, and knowing what's the really important stuff and what's the stuff that you can kind of drop if you have to. But for me personally, it was learning.
What the important stuff is and what the stuff is that you can drop if you kind of have to. Surely you're going to space. You don't really want to be forgetting anything.
Russian
gets
language
better.
was the biggest struggle I
you
had.
don't even think about that.
That's because everything in the Space Centre is in Russian, all the instructions, all the...
The Soyuz spacecraft, yeah, we all fly on the Soyuz spacecraft at the moment.
The Soyuz spacecraft, okay? So now is everything in Russian? Because Russia is the only nation that's actually been into space. Soyuz spacecraft. Yeah, I mean, Russian is the hardest thing that they expect you, that was for him to learn Russian, the Russian language. And here's another thing. Everything is written and printed in Russian. Really?
It's the only vehicle
To
going
get
to
up there.
space and back for humans. So we have to learn Russian. It's there's no English documentation in the spacecraft. There's no English spoken in the spacecraft. It's all.
But my sat-nav in the car can do loads of different languages. Surely there's a button you can... I mean, you're flying a spacecraft, Tim, for heaven's sake.
It would be nice, but they need us to do that really, really quickly. So you have to have it all in your mind.
And so...
They need us to learn it, to do that really quickly, which is obviously learn the Russian language really, really quickly. Easy language to learn, totally different alphabet, totally different phonetics, everything.
Are you fluent in Russian?
I can comprehend Russian pretty fluently. Speaking is a different matter altogether.
So, right, every bit of documentation is Russian. Every label, every procedure is written in Russian. And he just asked him, are you fluent in Russian? Oh, you know, let's just have a little rewind. Can I get a rewind?
For humans. So we have to learn Russian. It's there's no English documentation in the spacecraft. There's no English spoken in the spacecraft. It's all.
But my
No
sat-nav
English
in the car
spoken.
can do loads of different languages. Surely there's a button you can... I mean, you're flying
No English spoken in the spacecraft.
a spacecraft, Tim, for heaven's sake.
It would be nice, but they need us to do that really, really quickly. So you have to have it all in your mind.
And so are you fluent in Russian?
I can comprehend Russian pretty fluently. Speaking is a different matter altogether. It's a big struggle.
So he's been to space, he's had to retain all this information, and he can comprehend Russian pretty fluently. Pretty. Not, yes, I am fluent in Russian, of course. I've been studying it for 2.5 years. I'm pretty, you know, pretty competent, pretty fluent. Doesn't add up, does it?
That's difficult, and I have to ask you the question: how did you go to the toilet on them?
In space, okay, it's all about airflow, because of course in weightlessness, everything's just going to hang around unless it's directed. So in space, we use the airflow to direct things. So we turn on a big fan, and for peeing, we basically pee into a hose, and the airflow is like a big vacuum cleaner
Right.
is going through it.
not
I just want
Let's try this at home.
No, do not try that.
Look at these gaps here, right? My mum's other half's a dry liner, right? Now, I'm not being any funny. If he left these gaps on site, yeah, especially like a moody airflow or moody toilet system like this, if he had left these gaps on site, he'd be chucked off site. Fuck off, mate. You know, get someone who can actually do a proper job. That looks moody as fuck. Now, it just doesn't even look like it's designed for space. Look at these gaps. Look at them. It's terrible.
So
It would be very messy.
Drives the urine
down through a hose,
So
and then
it's
it's
the wee down,
collected.
basically, yeah.
The interesting thing is it collects it into a big container. We then recycle 80% of that urine back
Yummy.
into tomorrow's drinking water.
with your sweat as well.
With sweat, with condensation, with all the moisture we breathe out, everything. We're trying to, recycle everything on the space station into this closed life support system. Because the space station can get resupplies from Earth, but we're looking forward to going to the moon and to Mars. And
We are looking forward to going to the moon and to Mars. Which kind of means that we haven't actually been there. It just gets better, doesn't it?
that's going to be impossible to have a resupply en route to Mars.
Recycling.
So we have to recycle everything.
So that's the number ones. Number twos, Tim?
Number two is airflow again, but this time it's a small plastic bag with thousands of tiny perforated holes. So the air can go through and cause, again, an airflow, but it doesn't let any solid waste through. So as long as your aim is right, everything gets collected.
I mean, what if it's not
then-
right? What if it's not?
Do you have
What if you have a
accidents?
dodgy tummy?
Do you have accidents?
That's a story in the book about that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna
There's a
name
whole
names.
chapter on
I'm not
it.
gonna name names.
And a question that I would like to ask, and I don't know whether you'd be allowed to answer it really, because it might be a naughty thing. It's when you went to the moon, did you take a piece of the moon and bring it back home with you?
So I wasn't
Are
in
you
the moon.
allowed to?
I was in the space station.
So you never got off,
No,
and you never
we're
took. There was nothing
400
floating about that you could steal.
No, but again, that was the question. It was a brilliant question from a young lad who said, did you bring back any souvenirs from the space
Yes.
station? I thought, what a wonderful
Right, there
idea.
you go.
Is it?
Again, oh God, my back. Where are the stars? Where are the stars? And look, what's happened to 1080p? What, haven't you got 1080p cameras all the way around that thing? Come on. That could be underwater. Could be anywhere. Where are the stars?
We could go up there and,
You know, they've gone from one extreme to the other. First of all, they had a satellite image of the Earth turning underneath the satellite and the stars allegedly moving in conjunction with the Earth, which just didn't make any sense. But now in this one, they forgot to put the fucking stars in.
It's
That's
something.
it, that's it.
Like you do at
Look
work.
at
you
this
stick a
star.
camera in
That
the
says
face.
do not pull.
Yes, yeah.
Everything is very strictly controlled. What's taken up and what
Where are
comes
the
down.
stars?
And
Oh,
they literally search you when you come
Yes,
back.
So we can't take.
Some of the previous moon missions, though, and we had one of the astronauts on the other day, they used to take things into space and sign them and bring them back. Did you take anything into space? There was one of your caps in your...
Just bear in mind what he says here as well. Right.
Comes down.
And did
Very
they literally
strictly
search you?
So, did they literally search you? So he's now about to make the statement that we're very restricted on what we can take into space. Listen.
You come
Yes,
back.
So we can't take.
Some of the previous moon missions, though, and we had one of the astronauts on the other day, they used to take things into space and sign them and bring them back. Did you take anything into space? There was one of your... Didn't your captain in your ship manage to get a gorilla suit taken into space?
Yes, that was Scott Kelly, my commander at the time when I arrived. I have no idea how he managed that. He must know a lot of influential people.
For heaven's sake, of all the things.
Oh my goodness.
And then he chased you around the space station.
Well, the funny thing was that when he told when he told me about having a gorilla suit in space, I thought he's got to be joking. At the most, it must be just a mask or something.
Yes.
And then he turned up in '03 in this full gorilla suit and wanted to play a trick on Tim.
So they're very restricted on what they can take into space, and there's searches and everything else like that. So I'd imagine that sneaking a full-on gorilla suit would have been pretty damn easy.
Cobra, the other American astronaut, with us. So it was a hilarious moment.
One of the questions that I loved, which I think my kids would love to hear as well, which is all the gross stuff. What is the grossest thing about space?
Oh, yes.
Yes, the grossest thing, well, I think the grossest thing about space is because we don't use our feet, we don't walk, and so we feel no pressure on our feet. all the skin, all the dead skin on your feet just completely sheds off. And after about a month and a half, I mean, it's great for if you want a
don't need a
pedicure. It's the
pedi, yeah.
best pedicure in the world. But you have baby's feet when you come back from space. But of course, when you take your socks off, all of that dead skin
It sheds
is
everywhere.
Like parmesan all over.
so you have to do that close to one of the return air filters, otherwise you become the least popular member of the crew.
Oh, Tim,
my
we could
goodness.
keep going. There's so many more
we
questions.
really
But, did you get claustrophobic just quickly, Joanne Hindley?
No, I didn't, but you know, there's a telling moment. The first time you put on that spacesuit and close the helmet, when I was going for spacewalk training in the swimming pool at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and we're down for 6 hours.
Down for 6 hours at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. And there's a swimming pool there. What's to say they don't film the whole thing under there? Everything looks like it's floating around. You've got to wear a spacesuit, you know. What's to say that they're not actually in the water?
And you know, that helmet goes on and it locks in place. And the first time that happened, I was just thinking to myself, I have no idea if I'm going to, you know, cope with this well or not. As it happened, I found it really cozy. I really liked that environment.
And I had no idea about the answer to this. Have you shrunk since being back on Earth, or are you the same height?
Yes, unfortunately, well, yeah, I'm vertically challenged anyway. But the great thing was in space, I grew 2 inches, but then I shrunk 2 inches when I got back. What happens is because
must
of
be terrible
weightlessness,
for you.
all of the muscles and the vertebrae relax, and so your spine extends by about 2 inches. And so, yeah, it's great. But then when you come back to Earth in about the first 48, 72 hours, gravity is literally crushing you back down to
Crushes you.
size.
Gravity's
Yeah.
Isn't it? In so many ways.
Oh,
Brings you down to
absolutely.
earth.
It does.
Absolutely.
Will you be going back, Tim, just quickly?
Yes, I certainly hope so. Myself
hope
and my
so?
other ESA colleagues, we've all got second missions out to 2024. So
He hopes so, but he's got a second mission out to 2024. Obviously, hopefully nothing's going to happen to Tim Peake, who will become Sir Tim Peake, I'm sure, in the future.
another trip back to
A
space.
few years maybe to wait, but you'll definitely be
A
getting
few
there.
years to wait, but yes, back there.
Fabulous. Tim, thanks
It's
so
so
much for
lovely to
coming
have
in.
you on.
Ask an Astronaut. I'll try again. Ask an Astronaut is
It's
Tim's
catching.
book.
I'm
It
rubbing
is.
off on you.
Very interesting. Like, you know.
And every question you could possibly want to ask, and the answer is yes. Lovely to see you.
And I'd just like to say as well, the proceeds go to the Prince's Trust as well, which is
Absolutely.
an amazing charity.
Every single penny, yeah.
Straight to the Royal Duchy. Hey, lovely. So I don't even think they do Princess Trust schemes anymore. I think it was back in the early noughties, the 2000s. Tell me what you think. I'm not convinced about have we been to space or have we landed on? I definitely don't think we've been to the moon. I just think it's just a staged event to try and convince the Russians that, yeah, we beat you, when actually we didn't. It's fascinating, don't you think, that when they come on trying to keep the lie of we've been to space and we're going to go back to space, keeping that alive in his spacesuit still. He's been back a year. That must stink, that suit, now. Do they just renew it for him? Just have a new one. I was wrong about the video time. It's much longer. It's like 18 minutes long. So I'm going to leave it there. Blessings, namaste. Thank you very much for watching. Like it if you liked it. Share it if you think it's worth getting out some more NASA's Caught Lying Again videos. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, because I try and look at the world in a subjective way and in an unbiased way, then please do. Please subscribe. I'm happy to have you on board. Don't monetize my channel. I don't believe in it. I work. Well, I usually do. I've had a bad back for God knows how long now. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. Namaste. Take care.